When a young child goes missing at the age of 9 years old in the middle of the night or 4 a.m., somewhere around that time, in the pitch black, being deathly afraid of dogs, as well as fearing the dark, you really can't sit accusing the family, because remember, innocent until proven guilty, but you can take it upon yourself, being a member of society, public as a whole, questioning. Yes, you can. Yes, you can, which is what I am in fact doing as I compile these videos. I'm questioning everyone surrounding that area of territory of where she went missing, including the family members. So I seen somewhere in various places of why Asia's mother doesn't want to be seen a whole lot more than she already has been on, say, national television, making Asia's disappearance more known to meet the public's eyes outside of what she's already did. Because more her focus seems to be more on the local level and not more on the national level of TV, and not more on the not more on the level of, say, global. When children go missing, yes, we know Oprah Winfrey in fact endorsed it, as in push Asia's face out there. Yes, Montel Williams have did the same thing, as in contributed with their efforts and trying to hopefully help make people aware to see, to find Asia, right? And yet time still has passed in all of this. Remember, she went missing February 14th, 2000, around the time of 4 a.m. Yes, she did. And so the time has passed. We are standing in what, almost 18 years now? 18, almost 19, going into 20 years. And yet still you don't sit back and let police do their job. As the mother stated, I seen that and I watched my own two eyes on a video right here on YouTube with the Shelby Star. That's in fact local news. Yes, it is. You don't sit back anywhere allowing anyone to just do their job. No, you don't. If you're a loving parent who loves your beloved child, you in fact put yourself out there as well, despite how many ever years has gone by. Because JonBenet Ramsey is in fact dead, and yet still her father, as well as her mother, before the mother died of cancer, before the mother met her deathbed, they in fact made it a point to even be seen in public. That's publicity. Yes, it in fact sells you, but once again, it's letting the world know that if you are a family member and you played no part of it, even being a JonBenet Ramsey's parent, if you never played a part and say something such as that, you still bring public awareness. Even after she's dead, you continue to be seen on TV, and yet Asia Degree's family isn't seen anywhere doing anything on global platforms, which is why many of the public in fact question their identity. Yes. Investigation Discovery ID, as in the TV show, as in many episodes, I in fact provided the link. Is below. Yes, it is, if you want to check into that. Anyway, moving on. So I am in fact a family member of Discovery Communications. Yes, I am. And so formerly Discovery is now Discovery Inc. Yes, it is. Discovery Channel and everything else. The links are provided below. But going back to what I was saying, questioning the mother as well as the family, all of this does not look right, and it doesn't sit right in the form of fashion of the public eyes. Being before the public eyes where you should be, and yet you're not. Saying Asia Degree's mother, well as a father, as well as a brother O'Brien. There is something in fact in which that family is not telling, as in speaking on. And yet to put yourself out there enough to be seen is to be heard, as in your child could in fact be brought home. If she's not killed or wasn't abducted by, say, a family member, even in the four walls of her home. Even abduction can stand and, say, somebody placing the child's body in a body bag in the form of a plastic garbage bag, 2 of them, just like the book bag. That sort of thing could possibly play out. So I'm going to state 3 factors in which could be the reason why Asia's family, and even the mother more so, seeming she's more the vocal piece of the family, many women are, as men sit back, I'm going to state 3 factors, possibilities of why the mother is not seen on national TV, and it's more than likely has nothing at all to do with the grieving process. No, more than likely it's not. Because to be seen on the Shelby Star News, Shelby of North Carolina, yes, Burke County, if that's what it is in fact called, right? That's the news of where Asia went missing. That environment, how everybody has a local news. The mother likes to put herself on that news, and yet that only expands out so far. It's the reason why she doesn't want herself on national TV. Because remember, everybody that has a global platform, even Oprah Winfrey, even in 2018, would love to get a piece of that story. And possibly even pay the mother in the process, right? And so to go figure on that one is to say, if you know everybody wants a piece of the story of the action of what played out as in your child going missing, it's to know they're going to sell you as well as sell your family. And sell Asia, but not in a gruesome manner. They're going to sell her in the form of almost exploit her. That's not a negative, because remember, the Center for Exploited Children, Missing Children, that term fits in with that as well. So even publicity of, say, a mother or father doing TV shows, that is to help exploit the young child's story just enough by a global platform of CNN, any of them. Well, Larry King, not him, but just any of them, enough to sell the child's story so that she can be found, because global territory is just that. It speaks and carries outside of just the national level. Global territory of a global platform, and the mother speaking on a global platform in front of somebody such as a Oprah Winfrey or anybody of that realm. Global platforms is out here. Even YouTube is global. So if you expand out territories globally, that could be 132 different countries globally. Yes, the expansion level I'm speaking on. And so for a mother not to want to place herself there is to ask in conversation of why. What is wrong with the channel with this piece is what I'm trying to ask. The communication level is off in the realm of the mother's eyes meeting the public and wanting her child to be rescued and found. It's as if she doesn't want her to. So my 3 factors in this, I'm going to present to you why today right here as I sit on my national level. Yes, but if I open up closed caption, then that can in fact allow this story to go globally. Understand, a genius right before your eyes. So I'm going to consider 3. I am in fact going to present to you 3 factors and possibilities of why this mother wouldn't want her child, as well as herself, the story and everything else to be seen constantly being portrayed on global TV as in networks all across the globe. There's 3 things. There is abuse, as in child abuse, or possibly abuse between, say, mother and father, fist fights or whatever else, objects being picked up and thrown at each other. There is in fact abuse more than likely going on in the 4 walls of that house. She don't want anybody to know. But if she or her husband played a part in, say, Asia going missing, the disappearance, or even possibly murdered, then that in itself stands accomplice. Yes, it does, and I'm going to explain that in a little bit. That in fact goes with abuse. An accomplice, yes it does. Because to not speak out something to the authorities is to know you in fact played a part of something. That's an accomplice. Not completely by standard or by law, because I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, I'm not any of those things, or even a correctional officer, police officer, or even FBI, that sort of thing. But based upon basic terminology, that would still be abuse. Yes, accomplice, if you've seen and witnessed abuse in the form of, say, molestation, child abuse by either parent and never told the authorities. And the 3rd factor of why the mother or father or the whole family, even O'Brien himself today, wouldn't want to be seen on national or even global TV and trying to find Asia's whereabouts. The 3rd one would be in fact O'Brien himself, as in him being that young age of, say, around 10 or 11 years old, or however he was at that time when Asia went missing. Yes, that's almost like a triangular figure. 3 people involved, right? That almost stands out. 3 people involved, 3 pictures involved. And not only that, that presents 3 factors of what I just stated, of what stood out the most to me in watching the story as it plays out. This whole Asia degree story as it plays out is almost 3 key figures even in that. Abuse, accomplice, as well as O'Brien, as in not wanting him to be taken away. Because I can go in so many different directions and even explaining those 3 things, but we're going to keep it short for today. Maybe I make it in another video. But what I'm trying to say is, a mother, if she played a part in even her old child's murder, possibly by not even her own hands, but say possibly by her husband, the father's hands, or possibly the son, his hands. This almost sounds like a JonBenet Ramsey case, and yet I think a stalker, more than likely a judge, because JonBenet was in fact a contestant, wasn't she? So I think a possible judge could have in fact did that, and not the inside. But it could possibly have been JonBenet's parents or even the brother, who knows? But I'm still sensing possibly a judge, seeing as she was a contestant. Somebody was possibly a grown man wanting that child sexually from afar. Found it a way to get in their house, possibly, or the family. So going back to what I was saying, the 3 key factors. The mother would have too much to lose in this, to sit on national TV or even a global platform and have the story, as well as her sitting there and her husband and her son. That would be too much, as in a loss for the family if they played a part in that. Yes, it would, as in, say, the public possibly seeing through certain things. Because to see something is to ask, which is why I'm here in the first place, right? But to be a part of something and say certain things start to come out, leak out, there is in fact too much to lose in that situation while you're sitting there on TV talking. Yes, it is for a mother or father, even a young child being O'Brien himself. It's too much to lose. And in that being said, the things that which could in fact be lost if abuse played a part in that, if abuse, say sexual abuse or even physical abuse went down in that household, that is in fact a loss factor. On O'Brien's end, as in him being taken away by a child protecting service that in fact protects children in their lives. Yes, it is, because if some type of way in a fashion of, say, that sort of thing came out, even if it slipped out, say, the mother's mouth, which is why she probably wouldn't want to be on TV anyways, for all people to see her, because abuse might actually slip out of her mouth in some way, right? And then she would sit there looking stupid, and the public would in fact question just that. And not only that, the FBI would come running in, to swoop up on that house to wonder, could abuse have in fact been going on in the 4 walls of the house, and yet the mother never said nothing from the beginning on the day of when the child went missing while they were out searching and rescuing for her, right? That sort of thing has a tendency to slip out when you're in conversation on TV, live. That thing can't be edited out because remember, it's live. So, and me saying that, even CNN is live, right? So, I'm saying back then, during that time period. So, and me saying that, the mother, if that sort of thing would have slipped out her mouth, say abuse coming out by accident, the mother more than likely would have paused, as in tried to shift the conversation to say something else or something, to take the view off of her. Yes, she would. Because that would be probably embarrassing enough that to know that she could have possibly played a part in that. So to prevent that is to not go on TV enough. Yes, it is. But not only that, O'Brien being that young and being on TV, being interviewed with the family, trying to get the public aware about Asia's disappearance, that could have almost, at that age, him being, say, 10, 11 years old, something in the form of fashion of abuse could have, say, slipped out of his mouth by accident, because children love to talk. And sometimes they say certain things that come out that will make you question, why would they say that? And not only that, if he will get to talking too much, more likely the mother will possibly pat on his lap to get him to stop speaking. Yes, to close and shut him down, but not doing too much. And not only that, she possibly will more than likely speak on top of him to stop his wording, to have him shut up, without making herself being recognized in what she's doing. She wouldn't want the public to see that. So she would try to do it a little bit to shut him down, but not throw so much attention on herself enough for them to know, right? In the form of abuse. So the mother would, in the family, everybody would have too much to lose, but so much more the mother or the father, who will be left behind and say either parent going to jail. One of them would have too much to lose, as in their own child, O'Brien, being taken away. Because if abuse stood there, then the police would in fact want to go back in the four walls of that house and check on what was in fact going down in the realm of abuse. Because if abuse played a part in that, then police will begin to scope out and think that one of the parents in fact had played a part in that, in the matter of Asia disappearing, and more than likely she could have been killed. That's what police will begin to think, as in decipher. Yes, they would, because I know I would. If there's abuse in the home, then possibly a killing could have went down, because some abusive individuals cannot contain their own anger. And that's why I'm trying to say that, man or woman, right? They can't contain their own anger. So to get the hitting on people is to possibly kill them by accident or possibly on purpose. People do that sort of things, even parents, even in cover-up. And so that would be too much to lose. They wouldn't want, that's a tribal factor in itself, tribal nature. Yes, it is. To be belong is to not have something, say, taken away, right? But even somebody that is enraged and abuse was still, they wouldn't care. But if another child is, say, taken away, they don't want that child to be taken out that home, because remember, everything is a cover-up in the realm of, once the child is in custody of someone else, that secret could in fact get out. Yes, it could, because a child will possibly be, say, taken away, put in foster home, or adopted off by somebody. Say if the parent was to murder that other child, being young Asia, and O'Brien seeing it or something like that, or him even knowing about it, and it coming out, saying somebody even whispering that thing amongst the family, O'Brien will more than likely know about that, right? And not only that, if a foster care unit took and put him in somebody else's home, then the secret would in fact leak out. It has to, because children talk. Even when they're threatening death, say if the mother or father threaten him, you bet not ever say nothing, or I might in fact kill you too, right? They will be too terrified. But if they're in a whole different home and they're moved further away, then sooner or later that child is going to get to talking to someone, as in possibly confide in someone who may possibly be an adult figure. Yes, they will. Because see, a child carrying that secret for too long, that's enough to make a child sick, even in the head. And knowing and understand the burial process of even your sister could have possibly been killed in their house. But I'm in a whole different home in foster care, which that didn't take place. But if it would have, that would in fact have weighed on that young child's mind, being the brother. But if he didn't know about it, then maybe not. It wouldn't have leaked out if he was living in somebody else's home under foster care. It wouldn't even have leaked out. But it's still too much would have been a loss on the parents' end, as in a questionable abuse. That mean O'Brien is going to in fact be taken away. Yes, even from the tribe, as in the home. We're all tribal beings, and yet some people still kill people on purpose or innocently, even though you're a part of the tribe. It happens every day, right? They wouldn't want him anywhere outside of that home, because see, even if he was outside of that home, right, that's to still say abuse could have in fact be there. Because why would you be adopted off or even placed in foster care in the first place, right? That's to point back to the abuse. And so he would still get to be talking somewhere at school or anywhere else about the abuse that played out in his house, as in the memories, right? That still points back to guilt. So to prevent that, the too much to lose factor is to leave the child in the house, as in the parents and everybody else not speaking on anything, not even on national television, not even on a global platform such as CNN and everywhere else. There's all type of TV shows that want to hear a child's story so that they can bring the young life back home. Yes, it is. It exists today, and not way back in 2000. It did even then. Yes, it did. So when I said abuse, because abuse is enough to turn one parent in from the beginning. Yes, it is. As in the questionable, as in interrogation. Yes, it is. So I said abuse, I said accomplice, and I said O'Brien, if there was abuse being possibly, he could be taken away from the home back then at that time, despite him being a grown man today. He would have then if abuse played a part, right? The police would have interrogated the family based off if they thought abuse was there. And all, if this is a cover-up is what I'm trying to say. If this thing is cover-up or if it's not. Say if it was, that's what I'm speaking on, right? We go back to the accomplice, which is what I was getting to. The accomplice factor. That's another reason why Asia's mother, father, even brother wouldn't want to be seen talking on global platforms, because even that sort of thing would make its way out of someone's mouth. As in the accidentals. Talking too much, getting carried away in conversation of the questions you are being asked. Yes, remember, subconscious plays a part in that. As in your thoughts, thinking, in relation to memories being stored and certain things coming out in conversation when you don't want them to. Subconscious, unconscious, that all plays a part even in the realm of conversation. You're speaking up, getting carried away in conversation, and yet certain things slipping out of your mouth when you're not wanting to while you're on TV. Instead of talking specifically and precise, things slip out of people's mouth. And if it slipped out on people's mouth on live TV, that's enough to tell on themselves, right? A mother or father or a brother doing an interview. You wouldn't want that to happen. You wouldn't want anything slipping out of your mouth, which is why some people don't go on TV to begin with. They take preventive measures to prevent anything from slipping out of their mouth. Because remember, once something becomes a memory, such as a possible murder, it's to know it's always there, creeping in the back of your mind. And yet to keep it on hush is to go dim, as in not presenting yourself on a national TV, which spans all around the world. A parent who played a part in a crime like that wouldn't want to do anything like that, do interviews or none of that. They would actually, in fact, want to put it behind themselves and possibly, hopefully think that everybody will forget and go down, and more likely they will place themselves on a more local channel, such as a Shelby Star News, and not go anywhere further than that, even in taking the walks that they take from the home to where Asia was supposedly missing on Highway 18. So that's part of the accomplice nature. And not only that, in relation to the accomplice nature, it points back to abuse. It has to, because abuse more likely would have been the thing which would have spiraled that thing, which contributes to, say, a child possibly going disappearance, as well as possibly being murdered. Abuse points to that, right? Everything is spiraling in the room of that, where everything adds together. If you're being abused, then more than likely you're going to get killed, because you might get caught up somewhere in that situation as it's going on. Even if a mother and father is fighting, putting their hands on one another, or even if a father or mother is molesting a child, right? At night, right? As the bed is squeaking or whatever else. Or even if they're not just molesting the child, say they're in fact hitting her themselves. That hurts my feelings. That a young girl, 9 years old, would in fact be that beautiful and say somebody was placing their hands on her, that in fact hurts my feelings. Which is why I'm speaking on this thing in the first place. All of it hurts my feelings. Just as much as Adam Walsh, yes, Adam Walsh, his head was severed, right? That was in fact John Walsh's son from America's Most Wanted. That was his son. The young boy went missing over 30 something years ago. He was at a Sears department store. Somebody took it upon themselves to take that young child by the hand, throw him in the car, and then take him out somewhere and cut his head off. And then just leave the head out in the field for some fishermen. They ended up finding it, right? That sort of thing hurts your feelings. That sort of thing make you cry. Yes, it does, because you would think, why would somebody want to do something like that to a baby? That young child that happened to, John Walsh's son from America's Most Wanted, his head being cut off. That's the most worst thing that you can do. That's to in fact say somebody had an abusive nature. The person that even did that to John Walsh, America's Most Wanted, his son, Adam Walsh. Look it up. Google it. That's frightening. So that's an abusive nature. Anything can play out when abuse is going on. Right? And so at times to be abusive is to say somebody has to be there sometimes in order to see it, as in witnessing that very thing going on, the form of abuse going down. Yes, they have to. Because what is done in the dark soon enough comes to the light. Either the mother or Asia's brother would have in fact had to be knowing that abuse could have possibly been going down in that house, and yet have not said anything in the realm of the detail, even if it was in the form of molestation. That sort of thing does not go out. Listen to me when I say this, because people don't pay attention enough. That sort of thing does not go down in the four walls of a house, and yet people within that home not knowing about it. It has to come out sooner or later. Because you done seen all type of things where a mother or say a father is yanking their children, right? And even parents have purposely broke a child's arm on purpose. Yes, that sort of thing does happen. Breaking a child's arm on purpose, right? That's in fact abuse. And yet sometimes as a person is doing it, they're not doing it for other people to see. And yet some people tend to walk in the room on that thing as it's happening. Yes, they do. So that is in fact abuse. A young child or the other parent will walk in the room on that sort of thing sooner or later. That sort of thing has to come out abuse. And if it doesn't come out completely, it has to be sense, as in a knowing something is happening to my child by the other parents, in the hands of the other parent. So if abuse was going on, trust and believe a mother or father knew about that thing. Because to be an outsider looking in is a sense something in fact was going on in that house for a child to take it upon herself to supposedly run away at that time in the first place. If nothing was going down, she wouldn't have to have leave, is what I'm trying to say. Even in false promises by an abductor. So going back to an accomplice, we tie that in with the accomplice is an abuse as well. And so if a mother or father or his child is noticing and witnessing another child is being abused, then that points to accomplice. Accomplice, as I stated in the beginning of the video, is to watch something, see it's going down, and yet never report that thing to the authorities. And yet once again, by stature, law, state law, government, all that, right? I was going to say federal law as well, but all that being involved and taking place is in fact law. But by definition, that parent won't be viewed by that by definition, and yet they would and they will. Because to see an abuse taking place with your own child and not speak out and say something, it's a no more likely repercussions come later. Yes, it does if that sort of thing happens. That sort of thing has a tendency to follow you everywhere you go along, which makes other people want to follow you in question of what happened. Yes, seriously. The honesty is just that. So if you're viewing abuse being another parent and you know it's happening, then that in a sense say you are in fact an accomplice. You have to be. because you didn't step in enough to stop the abuse which was happening right before your very eyes, or even in the bedroom in the middle of the night, as say a squeaking of a bed of molestation, or even of a possible molestation of a child laying next to her brother's bed on the floor. Why would that sort of thing be going on in the first place, of a child laying on the floor next to her brother's bed when she has her own bed? Which possibly squeaks, it did, but why wouldn't she lay next to her bed on the floor? That posed a model as in a situation that abuse more than likely was going down there. Yes, the young child was afraid of the dark. Yes, she was. So I could possibly see her sleeping on the floor because of that, but not completely, because even young children know to be afraid of the dark is to pull the covers over your own head so you don't see the boogeyman, as in a ghost or anything else. Moving on. Rewinding the tape back to what I was saying. The accomplice factor. Yes, I'm a genius, I know. That's not to brag and boast, but to actually speak on something as in knowing who you are, is to say that very thing and don't downplay your gifts. That's what I'm trying to say. People that are watching, people will be so much more further in life, in their career, if they stop downplaying their gifts. So moving on. Even police know they're genius. Even FBI know that. Yes, they are. Because to help try to find out something, only a genius will sit taking the time to try to do that sort of thing, trying to crack something. So going back to what I was saying, an accomplice. Accomplice is witnessing something, and yet they are not saying what they have witnessed. If that sort of thing took place, say a disappearance and a murder on top of it. And not only that, possible abuse, which in fact extended up to that. That would in fact point to accomplice. Whether it's that young child, the brother O'Brien seeing something and haven't said, not saying, or the mother seeing something. I could see a mother seeing something more than I can another child, as in the brother, seeing abuse taking place. I could see a mother doing that, but it's still in fact to say you are an accomplice, because you didn't run to police enough to make them recognize what is in fact going on within the four walls of your house, someone being abused. And in a sense, why would you do that? Because once again, the eyes will fall back on you, as in why would you stay with a man or a woman knowing that you got yourself in a situation with an abuser? So the police would in fact question you and your whereabouts, as in where were you that night as all this was going down. Yes, they will. Police will even delve that far in interrogation with the opposite individual who stood witnessing abuse as it was happening before all this came up to be disappearance and possibly murder. Police question all the way around things, just like I do. I have the mindset almost like the FBI. Yes, I do. Interrogation, all that. So, the accomplice. Now, if the person, if the opposite parent, which could have witnessed abuse going on in their house days on end, weeks on end, or even years on end, possibly since birth that child was born, right? Behavior stands in that. But if a child is being abused too long, yes, people would in fact recognize the signs that the child will be abused. Say at school, certain signs will be shown, but I don't think possibly completely. Because to even point back to say when somebody's born and they're a young child growing up under the roof of abuse, is for that young child to be used to it, as in get used to it, child. Yes, it is. A young child will more than likely, that sort of thing will be ingrained in their mind, almost to the point of them being desensitized by the abuse as it's happening. If it started around the age of say 1 or 2 years old, going up until the say age of 9 to 10, they'll be used to it enough to not show their behaviors in school, right? Enough to not show their behaviors in school. Let me see. Let me go back some. To not show their behaviors in school. Because they've been a part of it and witnessed it so much. If abuse happened at, say, in her house at 1 or 2 years old, you would in fact become used to it and almost desensitized, even if you yourself is being beat on. You would know almost how to present yourself to the world. Yes, you would. Because see, an abuser is going to even say condition you or even groom you in that. Yes, an abuser would. Abuser, trust and believe an abuser is going to in fact groom their own child in the realm of abuse, as in how they present themselves to the world on the outside, and the world looking in from the outside to them, as in sending their child off to school and knowing how to act when you get there. Because see, we're all groomed in childhood how to act from the very beginning anyway. So to be abusing a child, a young girl, and send, or even a little boy such as O'Brien, is to send them children off to school and tell the children how to act when they get there. Right? That's grooming. That in itself is in fact a form of grooming. Grooming your children how to act once they get to school, despite them coming back home and being abused, possibly being abused on the way from home. Being abused on the way back home from school, but that sort of thing possibly didn't take place because the young child was driven back home in the form of a school bus. Yes, she was, right? But sometimes even parents pick their children up from school in the car, so that was in fact an example. I know even Tyler Perry, yes, Tyler Perry Studios, look him up. He's also on the OWN network as well, but he spoke about how an incident happened where his father was a lunatic at abusing his mother, right? To the very fact when Tyler Perry's mother tried to run away with his siblings as well as himself, Tyler Perry's mother, the father literally, Tyler Perry, the father literally found out where they were at and got them in the car. The mother, Tyler Perry, and the siblings got all them in the car and beat the mother all the way back home just for the mother wanting to run away and take her child with her, as in trying to leave an abusive household. The father did that. The mother lived enough to tell, and yet she didn't. But Tyler Perry told that story on his own, because to watch your father do that sort of thing is to one day come out and speak about it. That's horrible. That's a horrible hot mess. The father could have actually killed all of them in the process of swerving off the road, trying to beat her all the way home, as in abuse her in front of her kids in the back seat. That sort of thing would lead to a car flipping over and everybody else being hurt in the process. And not only that, the blunt force of even the punching to the mother, say to her head, could have killed her in the process right there on the scene. A runaway grown woman running to leave out of a house, being drugged back in the car and being beat half to death on the way going home could have possibly been the very death of Tyler Perry's mother. To give an example as a state, could that sort of thing have happened to Asia, where say she took it upon herself to say possibly run away, and a parent noticed and recognized such and such, and then possibly got her in the car and beat her brains out half the way going back home and killed her in the process, and then got rid of everything as they were doing it? To give a good example is to scope something out, as in what could possibly be there. Because see, if a person is going to put themselves in an environment to say want to like leave home because abuse is going on there, is to know a parent can possibly run up behind that child, even in them being halfway up the block somewhere, get them in the car and say, where are you going? You are in fact my child, and how could you do this, as in leaving my household? Remember, because they pay the bills and the child is under them and not above them. So to prevent that sort of thing is to in fact beat the sense back in the child by saying you ain't never leaving. Matter of fact, I'ma show you. Abusers do that thing. I'ma show you. I'ma beat you good enough to show you, young child, you are never going anywhere. You're going to learn from this lesson. And so to knock a young child up the head too hard is to in fact kill her in the process, if that sort of thing took place. I don't know, and yet I kind of sense. I could be wrong. But moving on. So an accomplice, I want you to, the viewer, to even think about that, if that sort of thing could have happened. Because see, even young children, run away, but more than likely not at that time. But for a parent to scope that thing, I'll say walk in the room as many times as her parents was known to walk in the room at night. They will walk in the room multiple times. They could have got up, went to the bathroom, seen that she wasn't there, looked or went outside and saw her going up the block, yanked her, whatever, and knocked her upside the head and killed her on the spot. Or even got in a car to go take a look or something like that. Notice they could have, see, the parents could possibly be lying even about the timing of the detail if they even murdered her. Yes, they can. You can't believe everything you see on national TV and even in the National Enquirer. Let me say, because even celebrities plant their own stories in the form of National Enquirer. Yes, they do. I'm industry, so I should know. Yes, they do. Trust and believe celebrities, in fact, make up their own fake stories for National Enquirer. Yes, they do, because that's a money maker. Yes, it is. Moving on. So, one of the parents, or both, could have possibly noticed that young Asia is not there before the time in which they mention. Because, see, even their whole timeline is off, right? The family's whole timeline is off, as in it doesn't make sense. And not only that, completely, this story doesn't make sense. It stands completely out of line. It's totally off the train track. As in it's going nowhere, as in we get nowhere, right? But on top of that, it's all everywhere. As in somebody planting things everywhere to not possibly be found, which is why they possibly planted that thing in the first place, and not them wanting it completely to be found. To plant something everywhere is to know you really don't want it to be seen, and yet if it was to be found, you don't want the person to know and recognize that it's there, such as you, the killer, the suspect, or whoever else that could play the part of something. Because to point something and place stuff everywhere, right? The direction, all of it is off. It's completely off. Time will tell, as in the story conclusion. The timing is off. The direction of the bag is off. The candy wrappers and the treats, the candy wrappers are off. The shed is off. Because you got to be able to use some AV type of vehicle where you do a four-road off-road vehicle. You got to be able to use one of those type of devices to even find the shed. The shed cannot even be seen off the road, as in Highway 18. All that is off. All this whole mystery is completely off. Everything is going in different directions. And yet to be a personality type, the INTJ, which I am, the problem solver, picking problems apart and seeing them, is to see the detailed matter for what it is. It stands everywhere. As in the possible killer or whoever, abductor, doesn't really want to be found out. So they place it on somebody else out there, right? Asia Degree's situation is spread everywhere. It is in fact spread everywhere. I scoped that from the very beginning when I see this. I said, you know what? This whole situation is a cover-up because everything is too many different directions. The home is that way, right? Then you got the bag over here. And then you got candy wrappers strung along Highway 18 to make it seem like a girl done ate whatever and threw the candy wrappers as she was going. That points too many directions. That's what I'm trying to say. It goes too much every which way. To point too many directions is to look and see into something. And yet to be a good problem solver is to recognize game for what it is, as in it's been called. See, I like games. See this Pac-Man? People who like games, as in video games, this is old school. That is so old school. Yes, it is, Pac-Man. People that love to play games understand the nature and the form of fashion of things going in various directions, right? And you call it out as you see it. The sickly game. Why is everything pointing every which way? The direction. All of it. Why is this over here, that over there, and that over there, and that over there? And not only that, what is wrong with the direction of Asia Degree's mouth? As in it not being there. And not wanting to help in that spreading the information in every direction herself. What is wrong with that? The whole picture is off. As in it's guided, a child guided, as well as misled. See, I can see into something. And maybe it's not there, right? Maybe I'm just thinking, and yet it's still pointing to something. The direction is almost in a sense as in pointing to the family. Because see, an abductor, see, accomplice is in that. I said that. Let me go back some. The accomplice will be an accomplice because you viewed abuse as it was taking place and yet you never said anything. Because that in fact will put you in jail, as well as with the guilty who took their time to place their hands on that young child. That sort of thing you in fact go to jail for, because to watch something go on for too long is to know somebody could get killed in that. And yet you would in fact go to jail with them as an accomplice. Yes you would. Yes you would. Trust and believe, yes you would. Call FBI, they'll let you know. They'll tell you. Matter of fact, they might in fact reach out to me and tell me I was in fact right on that thing of the accomplice nature. Because mothers go to jail all the time about that sort of thing. Didn't I tell the story of fact? Yes, fact and not fiction. Didn't I tell the story of the girl that I worked with? And I held her baby for the first time. And her baby was being abused and I didn't know, right? But she knew as she stood in front of me. And her family knew outside of the house, but she knew more detail than themselves about how the baby was being burnt and almost damn near being butchered and scalded with water and all type of stuff. The mother knew, right? But she never said anything. And one day when I looked up, I turned on the news and looked in the paper and she was there. Yes, her identity of somebody I had formerly worked with and who I was cool with back then. I did not know that her personality could in fact allow that sort of thing to take place. And yet she had to go to jail as an accomplice, as in serve 8 years. Police had no choice but to lock her ass up for the simple fact, pardon my language, they had to lock her up. Yes, the FBI and all them police had to lock her up for the simple fact she knew abuse was taking place. And she never said nothing, even on the very day of when her boyfriend killed the child and not the mother. Yes, the boyfriend did. The mother didn't say anything, even leading up to the child being drowned. The boyfriend, in fact, drowned the baby, is how the baby got to the hospital and died. Yes, the mother never said anything. Everybody else on the outside knew, but they did not know as how far. Because to wear clothes is to patch that sort of thing up, as in a cover up for you not being scoped out. My former friend, yes, allowed her boyfriend to beat her child to death, is what I'm trying to say. She had to serve time. That's accomplice. And so if Asia, mother, father, or whoever knew about abuse that was going on in the house, that points to the direction of them as well. What you see, you go to jail for. Because it's to not prevent it, as in stopping it. It's to know you seen it there, as in you wanted it there. And I mean not you wanted Asia to go disappearing, as in her being beat to death, but you wanted that other individual there, as in preventing even them from going to jail. So to not speak on any of that is to not say nothing, as in not be seen in coverage on national TV, the Globe, and I would say National Enquirer, but we keep that out of the story. That's not laughing, no it's not. But it's just speaking that to be mass media is to portray everything everywhere and not just in one place on a local level. It's the reason why the mother doesn't want herself being seen. And not even the father or even the brother, now that he's an adult enough, old enough to speak out and go on television and open his mouth to say, you know what, my sister has not been found. She left at home at 9 years old, dear world. I am her brother standing here, dear world, instead of just getting on Facebook and talking about it. To have a bigger scene go down, as in a child's disappearance and all that, and it wasn't done on a playground, it's for you, the family, and make a whole bigger scene about that thing. For everybody to know what could possibly have happened if you had no part of it. Or even just speaking on her, period. Making interviews, making her life appear more valuable than it is, right? To value something is to speak on it. There's some parents that are so obsessed, yes, even about their own children, that some of them love to live through their children, right? Enough to just talk about the children everywhere they go. They will in fact stop you somewhere in a grocery store or shop, at the mall, or just to tell you about their child, because they're proud of their child, because see, that in itself shows value in the child. My dad used to do that. So I understand the value of loving your children, speaking on them and bragging on them because you love about them that much, because even human life holds value itself. But if it doesn't, then that once again points in the direction of, you could have done this, the mother, the father, the brother, or whoever. Because to value someone is to in fact show that they're there, right? In the news, outside of local, you will in fact show them everywhere. But if you don't really value them as much as you're portraying to value them, even going on those walks from the home to the billboard or where she was supposed to be seen, if you don't value them that much, then you in fact would not be seen in coverage on TV. On TV, on nightly news, daytime news, outside of Shelby Star, which is the county or whatever that evolves and revolves around Highway 18, and trying to question their whereabouts. See, to fully value someone as a young child, being 9 years old, as precious as she was, and I'm sure possibly gifted as she was, she looked like it in her own eyes. Yes, she did. In her own eyes. She did. In her smile and everything. You can read a smile in photographs and see an individual for what they are. The timid aspect, right? She looked almost like a charm piece, is what I'm trying to say. That's why they called her Shelby Sweetheart, right? Young Asia. If a parent is going to love and value that individual, then they're going to want to, in fact, call that very thing out in various interviews, and not just say 1, 2, or 3 interviews and just go down and just be at local level, as in being unseen, out of reach by public eyes. There's something wrong with that. It's off even in a timeline, because here it is 2018, and yet not nowhere is her brother O'Brien being seen talking about this anywhere, right? Everybody wants to be seen in public as almost trying to be a celebrity themselves, and yet many of these everyday individuals who are trying to be celebrities themselves, none of them individuals had anything like that take place, right? But everybody is trying to be seen, and yet that's kind of strange to me for a young child to go missing, and yet her mother and father, as well as her brother O'Brien, doesn't even want to be seen. Something about that is off. Here, even in 2018, let me tell you, it's off. It's off because all type of people is trying to make a name for themselves in the form of celebrity. Young, whatever, everything else. They're doing crazy matters just to be seen. Yes, they are. Just so that they can be seen to possibly be making millions of dollars. Children are in fact doing that sort of thing. You can see it right here on YouTube, right? And not only that, on top of that, if people are doing that in 2018 and have been doing that for so many years, then why wouldn't the mother and father take it upon themselves to try to be seen as well about their missing child? Because that's more important than any type of prank. That's more important than being seen in any type of thing. Such a stupid, petty activity of you shooting something in broad daylight just so everybody on YouTube or on Facebook or on Instagram or on what's the other platforms, or on all the other platforms and stuff like that, just for you to be able to see it. So if children and everybody else is doing crazy things to be seen on global platforms, and yet that's petty material, it holds no value but just entertainment, then why aren't these parents and her brother O'Brien trying to be seen on a global level of something as valuable as human life? Is that to say that they don't care about her? Something's not right. And it has not been since the child went missing. It has not been. And it's still not right in 2018. Why is everybody else trying to become famous, as in make a name for themselves in the realm of celebrityhood? Young child, teenager, adult, 21, everything else, adult, grandmas and grandpas, even these videos of these two grandma sisters or whatever they are, sitting on video cussing each other out so that they can be famous, and cussing each other out about the fact they're going to church just to provide entertainment enough to see. And yet these two women ended up going on a Steve Harvey show. Yes, two grandmothers cuss each other out every day and make videos about it to entertain people, to be seen, and then they go get on Steve Harvey to talk about it. And Steve Harvey put himself just enough there to interview them, to laugh and all that, of the fact of two grandmothers. Why would they do that sort of thing? Because even that is comedy entertainment. And yet it's still petty material. It really doesn't hold a lot of substance. It's empty stuff. It's no value, right? But a mother and father and brother have a young child go missing, and yet they're nowhere to be found, not even on Steve Harvey's show, speaking about that sort of thing. They're nowhere to be found on Tom Joyner. He's a good example. Tom Joyner, the morning show. Not only that, they didn't even take the time to really be on Michael Baisden. Remember Michael Baisden? He was the black male individual, seeming this mother claimed to say the media. If a mother, see, that's all excuse, possibly cover up. This mother said that she felt that white children are given more exposure than black children pertaining to missing children, which is why she feels her child wasn't given enough exposure. No, I in fact disagree with that mother, dear mother, Asia's mother, Akila, or whatever her name is. I in fact disagree with that, because to not see nothing, to not see enough of something, as in your child being not found and not being seen on TV, is to in fact place yourself there, the mother, the family, the father, the brother, everybody. And if you think white people, as in the resident of, say, TV global platforms as well as radio, if you think white people are not doing it enough to, say, bring even closure to your child's story, as in her being found, if you think white people are not playing their part enough and showing and broadcasting your child's story, is to in fact go on black TV stations and black radio owned stations, despite them possibly being, owned much higher by white people. And the banks and, the Jews owns everything. We know that. But still yet they're being aired by black people. Michael Baisden was one. Michael Baisden. Look him up. He's still around. He ain't completely went disappearing himself. No, he ain't a missing person. No, he's not. Michael Baisden is still around. He's probably in... I know where in fact Michael Baisden is. More than likely he's still down in Miami, where he loves to be. And not only that, how far is Miami from North Carolina? Let me think. Was Michael Baisden around during that time? I'm thinking he was. But if he wasn't, it's still years later. We are still standing in years later after. Remember, to start somewhere is to end at somewhere, as in a starting ending point. And there's years in the middle of that. So why didn't the woman, take it upon herself to even go on Michael Baisden's show? I'm questioning. You couldn't in fact see her as she was sitting there, and yet you could hear her. Because that sort of situation has a thing of making its way in other black people's hands, who in fact own media. That sort of thing could have in fact led its way to BET, the biggest black owned thing. Well, back then it was, until later a white guy took over. But that sort of thing leads to other hands, is what I'm trying to say. If you're black and you feel you're not getting enough coverage, then you go to black people such as a Michael Baisden. That woman could have did that somewhere around 2005, 2006, when he possibly walked up on the scene, right? She could have did that then. And not only that, Michael Baisden is a bold enough figure. Yes, I know of Michael Baisden. He's bold enough to put himself out there. Even Tom Joyner is that same way. Because didn't even Tom Joyner have his own TV show, or did that come later? And yet, and still, even after somebody goes disappearing, you can still do that sort of things years later. She can in fact do it today. and yet she's still nowhere to be seen. Tom Joyner. Oh, this the Tom Joyner morning show. We all know about that. That's in fact Tom Joyner. That in a sense is black owned right there, just for him putting his face out there as a black face. Yes, it is. And even in the form of the TV show in which he in fact appeared on. I think it was in fact his own show. But the mother is not even seen there, as in a nowhere to be found. And so once again, is the question, why not? Why not be found? And who else was black during that time that owned TV, black TV, radio, and TV shows? I need to know. Because see, the mother is using various excuses of something, and it could possibly be because she could have possibly planted things herself, as in the nature of being a criminal. See, to see something for what it could possibly be is to call it out. The criminal aspect, I'm saying. If you played a part of something, you wouldn't want to call it out, as in talking even too much on the airways of, say, a black national TV show, Steve Harvey, national black TV show, such as Tom Joyner morning show, black radio station, in the realm of being played by blacks themselves, the DJ. Yes. And possibly what? Audio engineers if they're there, right? In broadcasting form, enough to hear, because even the hearing is enough to put a story out there where it could get passed on to other people. Remember, these people are celebrities. And so celebrities are known and prone to pass information like that on to other celebrities so that themselves can distribute it to other celebrities. To get something going, as in the train, is to keep it in motion so it doesn't die out. And yet I keep sensing that this mother, in fact, wants she wants the whole Asia Degree story to die out. Because remember, she looks like me and you, the other black individual watching this. And not only that, she in fact looks like Steve Harvey. Not in figure. No, she doesn't. But the candid aspect of you are in fact black woman. And so is Steve Harvey. And so is Michael Bazin. And so is who else? Because see, as time passes, more black individuals is out here getting out here through social media and even XM radio interviewing people. Who's the guy, I keep forgetting his name, that wears the caps on his head all the time, and he is on XM and he works with them and he does TV shows. And not only that, who is in fact the runners and the gunners of the Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God? See what I'm saying? This does not add up. There is in fact a problem, because see, even on the Breakfast Club, even people that have had semi-celebrity stuff have been seen on that show, right? Biggie Smalls, Notorious B.I.G., is a famous rapper, right? But in fact, he's dead. But his son is not famous. No, he's not completely. Just via his father, as in being the son. But the young child took it upon himself to even go there to be interviewed. Yes, I believe on the Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God, as well as Angela Yee. Angela Yee. Everybody know who she is. I know who she is. You can see a New Yorker when you see it. I think she is from New York. But Angela Yee and Charlemagne the God, Biggie Smalls, Notorious B.I.G., Christopher Wallace, his son, placed himself there enough to be seen. Possibly his mother talked him into that. Who knows? Faith Evans, yeah, I know about her. So she put more than likely, I ain't gonna say more about that. I'll leave it at that. In the writing, songwriting. But he placed himself there. Christopher Wallace, Biggie Small's son, Biggie being killed in the way that he has. His son placed himself on the Breakfast Club. I think I got it right. If I got it wrong, leave it in the comment section. I seen him talking, as well as talking about his future rap career. So if Biggie Smalls' son can do that, why can't Asia Degree's mother and father do that? I mean, I'm kind of tired of hearing about Monique and her husband. Yes, I am. With Precious and all this other stuff pertaining to Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry and who else is Monique calling out today? Monique, the actress, and her playing in Precious. I consider Tyler Perry my family. The one that owned Tyler Perry Studios. Yes, I do, because he's in connection to Oprah Winfrey, who is, in fact, I consider her my family as well, because to join up on a team in relation to Discovery Inc., such as formerly known as Discovery Communication, is to, in fact, say you're family if you served on something. Celebrity family at that. I'm tired of seeing Monique do that sort of thing with all the drama and her Z-list career, and she's trying to find it. That's why she's bringing up hateful whatever else on Oprah Winfrey. Tyler Perry, yes she is. Yes she is. And directors in relation to Empire, yes she is. That's the sole purpose, to make her come up even more by slandering, slashing people's hair. I'm tired of seeing that thing and then me questioning where is Asia Degree's mother even in all of that. See, if a Z-list, yes, Z-list celebrity could take the time to take moments out of their day to start drama and pick fights with other celebrities to try to make money to be seen, and even more so to be seen more than anything, more than cash and dollar signs outright. Most of these celebrities want to be seen in the first place. If somebody like that could take the time, being a celebrity, to do all of that in their operations of being seen, and yet they're a nobody. To sit slandering other celebrities is to, in fact, know you're a nobody, right? If nothing ever took place. So why isn't Asia Degree mother doing the same thing? Because even Asia Degree's mother is, in fact, a celebrity herself as well. Yes, she is. As well as a father and a brother. Because to be placed in the limelight is to see and know you're there. So that, in fact, spells celebrityhood. Because remember, disappearance took place and possible murder took place, right? Could have been. And so it was presented to the public's eyes. So you are now, in fact, a public figure. You're a public celebrity now. Yes, you are. Look at JonBenet Ramsey and all of them. Yes, JonBenet Ramsey, what made her famous is being a contestant, yes, and being judged by that, right? Performance-wise. But yet and still, even if a mother, her child goes missing and disappears, that mother and father and brother, as in the son, is in fact still celebrity themselves. Maybe they don't know this, and yet I'm calling that out as well. Because to bring too much attention in the form of even Montel Williams going on his show and allow Oprah to play that on the Oprah Winfrey show, as in Asia going missing, that right there spells celebrity once after. Because remember, the Oprah effect is let me tell you, let me go back. The Oprah effect, as in Oprah endorsing things, once Oprah endorses something, it's completely over. Everybody wants to know about it. Oprah has in fact created celebrities just by them appearing on her show. And I was an individual, yes, in the late 90s who was in fact supposed to appear on the Oprah Winfrey show, which is how I'm standing where I am today. I did not go on the show. No, I did not. My parents felt I was too young to even be presented on the show in the manner of the makeover. Yes, the makeup, not the makeover. Yeah, is it makeover? Yes, makeover when you get dressed up and you come out and you show everybody how nice you look after you was depressed in the first place, and now you want to show off how you now look all fantastic, right? I was too young to do that, to be featured. So my parents thought that, but my father more than anything didn't want it. But the Oprah effect is in fact real. Once Oprah touches her hands on something, it completely blows up. And it has. Trust, believe. Consider a book club. Her link is below as well. The OWN network. That's an endorsement for you, Oprah. Yes, it is. So, did I tell the story about how her team at that time called me on the phone? I'm gonna make a video about that another time. How they called me on the phone about me being featured for the makeover. I'll make a video about that later. But the Oprah effect is in fact real. Oprah is touching something and she's blowing it up, right? And so even someone much lower than that still has that same scope. Montel Williams as well, right? But to not be placed anywhere further than say that, as in being seen on black TV shows and stuff like that, is to say and question the mother and father, what is possibly wrong? As in the household, something is off, as in the timeline somebody's not telling. To not get enough coverage is to not know it's there, and I don't think she wanted to be there. An accomplice. An accomplice would in fact not want the story to be there because they're telling on themselves. An accomplice. To see is to know. To understand something. The only people that wouldn't want national coverage on something is somebody that played a part in something. The lights, in fact, instead of it going brighter, it in fact goes much more dim. Yes, it does. Because see, even the murder in fact presents a form of shame. So to get away from that very thing is to like dim the lights on you, not being seen on TV. I even question a little bit further, as in, yes, even them going to jail as an accomplice. Did I say that already? Yes, I think I did. I even question the mother of why the mother didn't want t-shirts being made pertaining to outsiders. That's a good video. Matter of fact, I think I got notes. Did I write notes? Which is why I'm bringing it up in the first place. I got notes sitting right here. The next video I got to make is about the direction, the highway. I got to make some videos a little bit more to elaborate about where something is standing, sitting still, and yet not talking. So I question the mother in relation to, see, all this adds up. It ties together with something. To scope into something is to see it. Possibly even the vehicle at night being driven by somebody that possibly had someone else's keys to the car that night. I'm wondering who could have possibly had somebody else's keys to the car that night, as in possibly even bagging things up. Or was two people involved in it? The question stands. So counterfeit t-shirts. This adds up with Limelight as well. Because see, to stand there as a celebrity is to know you're there. As in a parent of a missing child. You're in fact a celebrity, right? Everybody is seeing you. They had to in order to bring a child back home. Which that sort of thing as well brings public scrutiny. Why wouldn't you? Because you're being judged. You should be. Because to have somebody leave at that time, it's a question, where was a child's whereabouts? And not only that, where was you as that was happening? And not only that, what will make somebody leave at 4 a.m. in the first place if their house is right? So tying in these counterfeit t-shirts, this ties in with publicity. Yes, it does. I understand PR work. Yes, I do. Public relations, I understand it. Yes, I do. A guidepost. Let me see. So, let me see. To understand public relations is to understand where there's faultiness, as in the faulty work, possible dirty deed, right? A guidepost, seeing what's there where other people don't see. Okay, so if a mother, so Asia's mother was in fact selling and giving out she was in fact not counterfeit t-shirts. The mother was in fact selling and or giving out t-shirts which presented Asia's face on the front of them to allow the public know that she's missing, so that people could possibly get them from her or buy them from her, so that they can make the public aware of Asia being missing by them wearing it around as a walking advertisement enough to see, because people that wear those sort of things can be seen anywhere, and so can a young child if they're out somewhere, right? The sort of thing adds up. It does, and it should. So, in relation to that, Asia Degrees giving t-shirts away to people and selling t-shirts to people, right? In which she did, her and the family together. They would do that, give t-shirts out and sell them and all that other stuff. Along the way, the mother and father and the brother or whoever, they witnessed. The mother, she witnessed some individuals selling counterfeit t-shirts of Asia. She witnessed this. The mother, she witnessed somebody was selling counterfeit t-shirts of Asia, meaning that individual was in fact making money off of a missing person, right? They were making money off of Asia's face, as in getting paid, right? As they were doing it, right? And Asia's mother didn't like that. She said, in a sense, I guess she didn't really like it, because to not like something is to bring it to light anyway, which is why she said what she said about the reason why she herself stopped selling her own t-shirts. The mother. This is where it doesn't add up, as in the play, as in the game. The treasure hunt. The treasure hunt. Let's call it that. The treasure hunt. So the mother is saying that somebody is selling counterfeit t-shirts of her child being 9 years old, missing in the dark at 4 a.m. out near some woods. The mother is selling t-shirts. She sees someone selling the same t-shirts, and so the mother decides to stop selling her own t-shirts. Who does that? I want you, the viewer, to tell me, the talker, I want you to tell me who in fact does that. Who in fact is a mother, father, brother, cousin, uncle, aunt, whatever, has a love and admiration for their own child, just enough to sell t-shirts to the public to make them aware, and then notice somebody else is doing the same thing, and yet you in fact notice that that's happening from afar. You're being the parent, and you say, you know what, I'm going to stop selling t-shirts myself because somebody else is selling counterfeit t-shirts like we're selling. Who does that? I can't see anybody doing something like that unless it's a murder, such as a form of an accomplice. Tell me if I'm wrong. Say it in the comments section, because check this out, peep this out. If somebody is selling counterfeit t-shirts like she stated they were, the mother is in fact, or the father or brother is going to in fact possibly be somewhat upset about that thing, but not very much, because remember, the word is being spread about her missing child. That's silence in itself. I think we all should go silence in prayer, even enough about that. She was religious, wasn't she? The mother and the father and the brother, weren't they religious? Why would you care enough for your child? You would let that bypass your eyes. You would be angry, and you would in fact stand there and correct that individual and say, you know what? I don't like the fact that you're selling counterfeit t-shirts of my child. I don't like that. I do not like that. That needs to stop today. Matter of fact, I'm going to contact police on you. Give me your name, give me your ID, give me something of you so that I can know. Give me something. Matter of fact, I'm going to in fact follow you to your house so we can get your ID information, or even look at the license plate of your car to report it to police, because I don't like that sort of thing. But you're not going to stop selling the t-shirts of your very own child's face being on the front of it. Why is that? Why did the mother do that? That doesn't sound right. That almost in a sense spells guilty nature, is what I'm trying to say. That in a sense almost spells criminal nature in the form of fashion of criminal activity. Because see, a mother that really misses father, mother, cousin, son, whoever really missed their relative, a 9-year-old Asia being who she was, looked so sweet in the face. If they really miss her and they scope out somebody is selling counterfeit, as in selling stuff illegally to make money, they would in fact report that to the authorities. And not only that, they'll keep selling their own shirts. Because remember, the child is a representation of themselves, the family members. To keep is to hold, as in love, right? The family's face on the shirt is a representation of the family. So that sort of thing speaks closer to home, as in you don't stop selling t-shirts if your family member went missing based upon someone else selling counterfeit shirts. Who does that? That doesn't add up. That in fact is out of place of the timeline. The measurement and all else, it don't add up. That's another factor in the case, in which I wonder if the FBI even took it upon themselves to even question that. Why would a mother have a missing child at that young age and not want her to be found? Because even in selling counterfeit t-shirts is enough to put the identity out there of the child, and possibly put the identity out there of someone who kidnapped her. Because if she's still alive, or was alive back then as the counterfeit shirts was being sold, then even the kidnapper could have been seen. As in the person who possibly snatched her or abducted her, they could have been seen by somebody wearing that shirt, because Asia could have been out in public somewhere walking side by side with that woman and man who have abducted her. See, to see a t-shirt is to know a face enough that if you see it while you're out, and awareness is to call them out. Oh my gosh, is that Asia Degree over there standing with such and such man, or with a man, or standing with a woman? Is that her? I think that's her. Because I think I just seen a t-shirt with that young child's face on it, which could be why a parent would want to stop, if they're guilty, why a parent would want to stop selling those shirts, to not make enough noise in the realm of the child going missing, because to not see even her face on shirts, as in to flash it forward, is to possibly not know she's there. To not see something enough is to not know it's there, even a missing person. That's what I'm trying to say. Only a criminal who was guilty would in fact not want to have shirts being sold. That's common sense. That's logic and reasoning skills in which it stands, is what it is. When a child goes missing and you really love that child, you don't care who's selling shirts, because remember, they're talking about her as well as they're showing her face. And yet to not want them to sell that very thing is to in fact be the questionable of questioning the whole family. What type of family are they really? What type of family is Asia Degree's family really behind the four walls of that house? Because to not want even her face being sold on t-shirts, besides somebody else selling them on counterfeit t-shirts, is to question what is wrong with Asia Degree's house. Something is wrong about that home, that living environment, and I can sense it from far away. As in, there's an odor, there's a stench, a stench, and I don't mean bodily, as in a body being buried somewhere in the bottom of the ground. That part I'm not speaking on. There's something about the family. There's a stench there, a foul stench, as in it stinks. The family, I'm saying. Because see, a child running away, that's enough to point. For book bags and stuff to be planted every which direction, that's enough to point. For a child to leave at 4 a.m. at 9 years old, being deathly afraid of the dogs and being deathly afraid of nighttime, the dark, knowing that Highway 18 is as wooded as it could get. You have to have a flashlight to get out there, and yes, even to see, and yes, she didn't have that. That's enough to point. The mother not wanting to get on any black TV shows or TV black radio shows to speak about her child, that's enough to point. All this is enough to point back at the family. What is wrong with that home life, as in the environment? Something is off, as is blaring loud in my senses. It's almost as loud as a train. You have a deep intuition, do you? Do you ever use it and say, you know, something is wrong with someone's house, as in the household, the matter there, in which you're not speaking on? Something is wrong with Asia's household. It is. Why wouldn't a kidnapper abduct Asia, as say on a day like this, broad daylight? Why wouldn't they do that? That's off. It's off in the timeline. Ask the FBI. They know. They even spoke about that sort of thing. It was off the timeline. It's a factor and all, right? But not only that, why? I'm gonna ask that 10 times in one of my next videos of the counterfeit t-shirts. Why, oh why, dear God, why? Dear the Christian God, why would a mother, father, brother want to stop selling their own t-shirts of a child which represents themselves being a missing person who disappeared at 4 a.m. in the dark, afraid of the night? Why would the parents and all of them want to stop selling t-shirts of that child they are trying to find? Why would they want to stop selling t-shirts just because somebody outside of the house were making and creating and selling counterfeit t-shirts? See, the public in fact have that right to do, despite it being counterfeit is known as illegal activity, right? But to place yourself a part of something, as in getting involved on a team or even being far away and wanting to help find out, as in rescue a disappearing child, is in fact take the time to place yourself there by creating t-shirts which could almost be looked upon as being counterfeit because they're not the same ones that the family are making, but yet you want the child to be found, right? The person standing outside of the home that don't really know Asia, they want whoever did this to be going to jail. And not only that, they're going to want to make t-shirts enough of Asia's face to be seen. Because the mother, didn't she say she wanted the public to be involved? And so somebody took the time to involve themselves by printing up counterfeit t-shirts. Yes, they did, and making money, right? By making the public aware. See, a criminal could even do that, make counterfeit t-shirts, right? But even those that are buying the shirts, it's a cost to be a boss in the realm of her face is still being out there. The mystery adds up. The mystery completely adds up. Dear God, universe, whatever you choose to call it, the mystery completely, there's a science even in that, in the realm of the marketing. To buy something is to sell it. And so if you are a criminal, that is almost criminal, isn't it? To sell counterfeit stuff. To buy something is to sell it. So if somebody is selling counterfeit items to a public, that is to in fact possibly gain money, the person selling the counterfeit. But not only that, it's to give somebody in which they want. People wanted to buy those t-shirts is what I'm trying to say. People in fact who loved, even from afar, seeing Asia's face and wanting to know the story, they wanted to help and support that very thing. And so they took it upon themselves to buy the t-shirts. And yes, there was money to be made in that, even if it was counterfeit. And so to buy it from a person that is making counterfeits, and yet you want a t-shirt so that you can make the public aware yourself by placing yourself there to be involved in that outside of the family, is to say, why would a mother want to even prevent that? Why would a mother want to prevent that? See, what that mother should have done is stood there having a conversation with the person that was selling counterfeits and say, once again, you know, I don't like this type of thing that you're doing. But what I can say it does is it in fact helps with Asia's whereabouts, as in knowing, finding her. If she was so mad about the person selling counterfeits, she should have took it upon herself to somewhat team up with that person, or put that person on the team and say, you know what, I will allow you to make money, but you got to give me and my family a percentage. Because remember, that's our child. She represents us. And we can't allow you to be stealing and taking money like that, selling counterfeits. You don't just stop selling t-shirts just because somebody else is selling them outside the home. So that in itself doesn't fit. It doesn't add up. It doesn't match. It's almost like a conclusion, pointing us in a direction of what is wrong with the family, as in the mental whereabouts. That in itself is questionable. That mother should have, if the mother thought somebody was selling counterfeits and she saw with her own two eyes, father, brother, if they all saw the person doing it, they should have said, you know what, I don't like this. This makes me upset. But if you want to help out, there's a better way to help out. Come join us. And we'll actually pay you out a percentage, possibly by even giving the money back to you just for you wanting to play the efforts of helping out selling shirts with her face on it. That's how real business people do. But to not understand the model of business is to not know, as in taking it there, right? Somebody, yeah, they were supposedly selling counterfeit shirts, but if my family member went missing, I wouldn't want to stop that. Somebody on the outside of my house getting involved in that, I would in fact promote that, as endorse that, because you're getting something back, is what I'm trying to say. See, people who are too money hungry, despite them being broken, petty thrift type of stuff, being lost in money, people who don't understand that sort of thing, their mind hasn't met that level of comprehension. To give something is to make money, right? If somebody's if somebody's being a criminal, that's petty theft in a sense. If somebody's being a criminal selling counterfeit shirts of a child that went missing, then yes, that individual is going to in fact make money. But there's give and take in the game, in that somebody else is going to receive something. And on top of them receiving a shirt, as the person is receiving money from them selling counterfeits, that other individual buying the shirt is going to receive that, as well as the family is going to receive. Because for the buyer to receive the shirt from the person selling the counterfeits, the parents, Asia's mother, father, and family is going to receive as well, because that's public acknowledgement. That right there is stamping a face everywhere every time that person walks out the front door to have Asia's face on her shirt. The parents are in fact getting something back out of that. They're getting attention. Yes, they are. On a local scale. And if say too many people bought that shirt, possibly on a national scale, because if somebody is visiting somebody and say somebody says, look, I need you to buy this shirt, wear this shirt, and say that person travel outside, or even if they travel outside on the weekend and they're in a different state, they're still giving other people, the public, the attention of Asia's face. That is in fact marketing, in which I fully understand. But to not understand this type of thing is to have much more a comprehension where you gotta be told. To go up a notch or a few notches in relation to that. The counterfeit person, and more than likely Asian parents knew that. They more than likely didn't want that sort of thing to get too far away from home. As in they wanted it to be more closer to home, even Asia's face, as in the t-shirts not going and extending beyond that. Outside of her environment of Shelby County or even Burke County in that area. She didn't, more likely the mother doesn't want anything to expand outside of that, which is probably why she wanted the person to stop selling counterfeit shirts, but more than likely why the family stopped selling it themselves. Marketing, we all know. To have work marketing is to know how it works, as in the abstraction and even in the realm of the uncover. Why would a mother not wanting someone selling her child's face on it, despite them selling them as counterfeits? Why wouldn't she want that, knowing that even the mother is in fact given exposure? Because see, you or I could go buy a t-shirt out of the counterfeit's hands. I did that, in fact, with a Janet Jackson t-shirt, and I had to go online to make sure the t-shirt was real, right? But come to find out it wasn't. That sort of thing happens. Counterfeits sometimes look almost real. Yes, it does. Digital and all. It's almost how they use mechanics. I said digital. Didn't I say digital? It's a form of the detail, computerized, to stamp something to almost make it look as real as, say, that individual who was in fact selling their shirts at their concert, which is how I actually bought a Janet Jackson counterfeit t-shirt by accident without knowing, right? So this guy, he walked up to me randomly, and I can see and sniff counterfeits from afar. But this guy had this t-shirt on maximum, enough on a blaze, just enough to see. Yes, it was just like the very actual t-shirt. That's what I'm saying when I said digital. Digital helps in that type of thing. So going back to what I was saying, the mother with the counterfeit shirts, a family that love their child is going to say possibly not stop selling their own t-shirts. Because if a family stops selling t-shirts of their missing child on the shirts so everybody can see her, even on a national level, if somebody travel outside of that area, if the family was to call out a counterfeit for doing that, right, and then the family stops doing it, as in selling the t-shirts, then that's almost to say that the family is a counterfeit just as much as that counterfeit individual that was selling the shirts. Yes, it is. If the family stopped selling the t-shirts, say when the counterfeit people was selling the t-shirts, if the family stopped, which it was showed to me, then more than likely that family is just as much a counterfeit fraud as in the individual was that was on the outside of the house selling it as a counterfeit fraud. To match something up is to align that very thing. You don't just say, I'm going to stop selling my own family member's t-shirt and helping to discover them just because somebody else on the outside of my house is selling them. That don't make sense. That's almost fraud in itself. Wouldn't you think? Because in a sense, the elusive nature in this is almost kind of like to hide an identity in all this in the first place, as in the mess. And possibly repercussions, I said that before. Possibly repercussions in the end. That almost spells fraud in itself. Why would I stop? Why would I have a baby? Because that was a baby, and that's the very thing that put tears in my eyes. Yes, it did. Why would I have a baby? See, to speak and know why I'm talking so much is something is because that sort of thing really bothered me. Yes, it did, and it still does. It really bothers me, and if it didn't, I wouldn't be making video after video and compilation of it, right? But why would you have a baby at 9 years old? Somebody else is making counterfeit t-shirts so that the public can be brought aware despite them being counterfeit, and yet you want them to stop selling them. And not only that, you stop selling them, you stop selling the same t-shirts yourself, your very own t-shirts you and your family made. Why is that? That's not right. Because for a family member to do something like that is to almost say they don't love and care for their child, as in they don't show it. Because to love and care for your child is to show it, is to express it even on a t-shirt. Because other people, more than likely, even in that environment, possibly loved her as well. I'm sure there was possibly teachers. There could have been anybody, even the coach or anybody who could have taken the time to gotten to know young Asia and still possibly wanted to be a part of her world in the realm of a t-shirt. Because even people just like t-shirts sometimes with even just stuff on them. But see, a t-shirt that has a face of a missing child is the most valuable thing you can see. Yes, it is. It stands for something, is what I'm trying to say. Is highly, that sort of thing is highly valuable and not in the realm of money. It's highly valuable because it shows something is there, but it's not. And it needs to be found. And the only way for it to be found is for me to wear something like this in order to discover it, to seek outside to see where it has been, where it has gone, any of that information. So to want to stop that is to question the family of why. Why wouldn't you yourself continue selling shirts despite a counterfeit? Because see, look, all around the world you hear about neglected family members, as in the mistreatment and all that other stuff. But that almost in a sense can point to neglect. It is, and it does. See, because see, even when a parent doesn't show themselves enough anywhere to be seen and heard in relation to their missing child, that in itself speaks of neglect. Yes, it does. And to speak up is to say, which is why I'm doing it right now. Neglect. Did neglect go on in the home? And yet that sort of thing could even bypass your eyes, even in a child dressing up and looking good, looking nice. Not looking good sexually, no. Looking nice as in her image being portrayed, right? A child could in fact be neglected in that form without you seeing, and neglect would in fact be abuse. Looking nice, having your hair nice, having your teeth nice, having everything nice, but behind the four walls of the house is not so nice. The neglect is in the form of abuse going down, and yet nobody's speaking out on the abuse that's going down. That's in fact neglect. Yes, it is. Listen to me when I say people don't pay attention enough. It's that's in fact a form of abuse, neglect. And so to not speak out, even in wanting t-shirts to be bought by the mother, the father, the brother, whoever, to not even allow t-shirts to even be bought, that's a form of neglect as well. Because it almost shows as if you're glossing over something. You're glossing over something just enough to cover it up, right? You're being seen just a little bit, just enough to be seen, but just enough to still cover something up. Neglect. To not want your voice out there in any form of I won't say campaign, but that's almost politics, but still this is politics. Yes, it is. To not want because see, politicians would in fact get involved if the mother starts speaking more and more. Yes, they will. They will get themselves involved. Mayors, everybody else. So to not speak up on something is to not know it's there, as in the whereabouts in the realm of, say, a cover-up, right? And so to say to not sell t-shirts, it does almost represent neglect. The household, it does, because it shows almost enough that you don't care. You don't care as much as you say you do, and wanting the child come back home, because how could you? Your face is not seen anywhere all over TV trying to bring her home. Once again, even here in 2018, as I said before, John Bonet and even other parents is still being seen on TV and not the National Enquirer about the fact that their child is gone, and they still want to know where she is. Because see, even parents want to know where their child has gone, as in missing, wanting to know. But the family doesn't even speak out in that type of form of them wanting to know. I'm saying how they hold their conversation in relation to interviews. It's like as if they almost don't want to know. The family, Asia Degrees, mother, father, brother, is almost how they hold conversations in relation pertaining to all this, is as if they almost don't want to know. I wonder if police ever scoped that out. The way in the form of fashion of how Asia's mother and them did the interviews and all the other stuff back in the day, it's almost as if Asia's mother and father and even brother don't want to know where she is. And not only that, how could they if they're not being seen everywhere on TV, as in a portrayal in relation to her being missing? I'm thinking if you're guilty, wouldn't you want to be seen all over TV, mass media, just to help and make yourself not look guilty? To say cover that up if you did it right. I'm thinking you want to do that, but it's more likely a possibility you wouldn't want to do anything like that either, because that sort of thing will slip out of your mouth. Yes, it would. To bring attention to even that, as in the light, or possibly even guardrail, is to just speak on that very thing. Something about Asia Degrees' household is not right, it's off, and I can see that. I can see that in the distance, and I ain't even touched nowhere near Highway 18 or even nowhere near even in the city of where she lived, that county or any of that. I can still sense and smell something about that family is off. It's completely off. I'm thinking a tragedy has been done or something is off. I said before, I wonder if the mother has even allowed interviewers of national TV stations or even global individuals to interview her in the four walls of her home. And if she didn't, I'm asking the question of why not? Ain't that where it took place? Isn't that where it happened, as in the story? But to not let the public meet the eyes of even the four walls of your house is to know and understand something in fact is wrong, as in something more than likely went down there in that household, even in the house. Because there's all type of people who have in fact given interviews in the four walls of their house. I seen one, yes I did, through Oprah Winfrey. Yes I did, of an individual that played on the Brady Bunch show, and she ain't even that famous, and yet they were in her house showing. But not only her, even average everyday individuals, where say CNN and other global platforms are interviewing these everyday people in their house, as in the missing and discovery. So why ain't this mother? Yes, the global platform TV shows are in fact right now, shows is being recorded right now in the interviewing process of missing people and interviewers coming into people's homes. But as you will notice, no interviewer or multiple ones are not really allowed in Asia Degrees' mothers and fathers and brothers' home. Why is that? Something is wrong. Something is completely wrong. Something is completely off. See, to spell adoration, in which it stands as in a mother, father, brother, having admiration for, say, the young child, wanting to show and present her, right? And possibly applause meeting if she's brought home alive. I don't think that's going to happen. Is to in fact allow the public in the inside of your house to even sit down at a table like what I'm doing and discuss what happened that night, not 1 or 2 times, or even not even 5, 10 times, but multiple after multiple times, just enough until the young child comes home. Yes, recorded in your own household, in your house, on your living room couch, as others have done. But to not see that sort of thing as an Asia degree mother doing that sort of thing on a global or even national platform is to know something stands there in the middle of the night. Something stand there as in a wait in the middle of the night that even she is not telling. Possible accomplice. I could not even gather to figure out enough information on why would a mother stop selling t-shirts of her own child's face. That's all. That almost spells sickness in itself. Because see, for a person that's livid, as in grieving and wanting to know their child's whereabouts, enough to be grieving enough to put them out there, is to keep on doing it. Because there's a desperation in even that, wanting to know what happened to my child. She was too young to be out. That's enough to leave a mother distraught. Listen to me when I say that. That sort of thing leaves mothers distraught, which is why they want to be on the TV just enough to be seen, as in get enough coverage to bring her home. That's why distraught mothers do it in the first place. They will force themselves on the telephone if even CNN don't want to hear about the story. But CNN will more likely want to hear about it because there's even money in that for CNN. Yes, it is, right? And possibly even money given to the mother. Yes, because TV shows do in fact pay out. Yes, for their guests, depending on who it is. But to make money is to also give money in the form of having a guest and listening to her and allow her to share your story on the global platform, as in her expressing herself in the form of voice. But to stop that being apparent and even the family is to ask why. Why not present yourself there where you in fact should be? Why is that? Asia Degree's mother, family, all of them. Why are they doing that thing? That sort of thing is enough to provoke a individual like me to speak out and say something. Where people get mad. It's almost as if I'm provoking the mother, father, and brother to speak out and say something. Yes, I am. Doesn't that in fact sound like a wrongdoing, provoking someone to come out and say something, right? But I have no choice. Because if you love and care for somebody and yet you don't show their face enough, showing that you care is to almost say that you don't care, and you could have in fact done that very thing. And being a suspect, being an accomplice, murder, all that. Yes, the family, mother, father, brother, all of them. And possibly extended family if information leaks out on the inside, and possibly it won't. Because even families have secrets. They say family affair. There has even been love songs about family affair. Yes, there has. I think Mary J. Blige had a song about family affair. I think what is it? Was it Sly Stone? And all of them, family affair is a family affair. That song, family affair matters. To keep secrets is to keep them all the way in, right? As in them going fully unreported. And yet, to the family, always remember, us sort of individuals, we see that sort of thing. As in we don't forget. Even a face. Even Asia Degree's face. How could we? Because remember, she went missing. She went missing. And yet to not be identified enough by the public is to not make them aware. is to almost, in a sense, want this whole matter to not be solved, seen, as well as go unresolved. It's almost as if the family wants that sort of thing to take place. I can keep sensing that, in which I have been and I am sensing that's what the family want. They more likely, the family want this whole thing to be forgotten so that they can stand unquestionable. But once again, many of us possibly will never forget. Because remember, we're the public, and your household is how all this got started in the first place. See, everything started and began in the household, and more likely it ends there as well. Because see, a missing person just doesn't walk away from the house unless something is wrong. Which is why we question the house, as in the identification of the family members in the house, and even some on the outside, but more so on the end. Everything starts and points back at the house, as in the leading nature. It has to. Because if a child is going to leave at even 4 a.m., that's a little bit too early, isn't it? I mean, even young children go missing at that time in the form of going to bed and nothing more. Yes, they do. Children do go missing if it's, say, under a Christmas tree where they try to stay up and go check it. Sometimes even them are not found in their own bed, is what I'm trying to say. They could possibly be found on the floor next to the Christmas tree, trying to get and seek presents, but can't even stay up long enough to stay awake for Christmas and wanting to know what their toys are. That's what I was trying to say. So the home life is more than likely messy, because this is what people don't understand. What you put out into the atmosphere, in fact, represents you. It shows who you are and what you are, right? And so me even standing here expresses what I am, a concerned individual about a 9-year-old child from afar, right? And so if a mother or father does not put out enough on their child, then that represents them as well, in the form of a caringness or carelessness or no care at all. And I seen that, and I pointed that out from the very beginning to other individuals. The family doesn't care as much as they portray themselves to be, because if they cared, they will be everywhere. That's how you show that you care enough for somebody to bring them back home. And yet every single action they do doesn't align up with care at all. Even the 911 call of the father. How does a father get on a 911 call and say that a child's book bag is gone, as well as her pocketbook, but doesn't state the fact that her coat is gone? Doesn't a coat come before a book bag and a pocketbook? I'm in question of that. Doesn't a child's coat come before, doesn't a young child, 9-year-old, doesn't her coat come before her book bag and her pocketbook? See, a coat is the first thing you put on. And then a book bag follows that. And then a purse follows that if you're going to carry it by hand. Those sort of 3 things follow each other. Yes, 3 things, right? They in fact follow one another. I put on my coat first. No, I put on my coat first. I put on my book bag, and then I'm going to carry my purse if I'm carrying it in hand. So the call out is this. A parent that doesn't neglect their child and they really solely completely love their child is going to in fact mention a coat first, I'm thinking. Because even to be in February winter temperatures at 4 a.m. and that time is to in fact carry a coat with you, right? That sort of thing. But she didn't wear a coat, which is why I'm in question of all this. I'm in question of the little girl didn't wear a coat, but not only that, there was no mention of it on a 911 call. That should be the very first thing in which you call out, in which I just did. On a 911 call. The father made the 911 call, and not once did he mention she took her coat. Why is that? Why is there no mention of the child's coat being missing? She didn't wear a coat. That sort of thing leads to hypothermia, but not only that, the father didn't even mention it in his 911 call. That's kind of strange. That in fact is on the contrary. Let me tell you. Let me tell you even the more. You mean to tell me this child didn't wear a coat? But nowhere is that coat to be found, even on the 911 transcript. I looked at it for myself as in the detail. Yes, I did. There's no say or nothing in the realm of the father speaking out and say, you know what? Her coat, 911 dispatch, well, her coat is missing, her book bag as well as her purse. Even if he spoke of it out of order, he didn't even do that. He didn't even do that. Their whole timeline is out of order, as in this whole story. The timeline of that is out of order and pertaining to the family and the bed squeaking and all that, right? And the father going to bed, that's all out of order. As in when the father last seen her, him walking in the room twice and not seeing, or him walking in the room twice and seeing that she's there, and then later on come to find out she's gone. That timeline is messed up, as in it's completely shady. It's on the contrary out of place. But not only that, you don't say a coat was gone in a 911 call. What is that? That's completely off. That's abnormal behavior, let me tell you. The sun is up. The sun is completely up. Right here, which we stand today in 2018, the sun is all the way up. There's no pitch black in this at all. The sun is up. I just stated what I stated. Why is there no mention of a child being 9-year-old leaving at 4 a.m. and the father, how could he notice a book bag being missing before a Tweety Bird purse? No, but much more so, more than her coat. See, the coat should have been, if the coat wasn't the first thing spoken of, Asia's coat, then it should have been the last thing spoken of. If everything is going to be so out of order and misplaced like this family has presented, then the coat still should have been somewhere in there. He could have said, you know, the book bag is missing, the Tweety Bird, whatever, the pocketbook is missing. And not only that, outside of that, her coat is gone too. Because even that will point 911 in a direction. 911 will in fact be led in the direction of, okay, we got this man on the call with dispatch, and he's saying that her book bag is gone, her pocketbook is gone, and not only that, her coat is gone. That's enough to point dispatch in a direction in the form of even them thinking, you know, in relation to police, right? Because that's all police right there in the center of it to begin with. That points them somewhere as soon as they arrive on the scene to say, okay, well, if she didn't wear a coat, maybe she got in the car with somebody. Okay, well, if she didn't get in the car with somebody, how was she able to walk in the first place with no coat and hypothermia temperatures? Okay, so where did she leave? How did she leave? And not having a coat. And so for her to be a father and not speak of that sort of thing is making me question the 911 call in the format of transcript. Why didn't the father mention a coat on? I mean, I'm thinking if you're around a young child every day, you see them go to school, or possibly not when you're working, whatever, but you're still around them enough in the wintertime. Even in the evening when you're going somewhere, taking them to the store, taking them to the playground, wherever, you're still seeing a coat. You know it's cold outside. You're man enough to know that you put on a coat. I'm sure her father doesn't walk around without a coat in that type of temperature, 40 degrees and wet rain, torrential downpour. I'm sure him being a big grown, whatever, stocky mother too, I'm sure they don't walk around without coats and they remember to take it. So why wouldn't you remember that sort of thing on a 911 call? Maybe it slipped his mind. Who knows? But it seemed like everything else has slipped it as well. As in a taking off. Who knows? Molestation could be a part of this. Who knows? I just thought that was so odd. And not only that, on the 911 call, he mentioned a neighbor seeing her walking down. He mentioned a neighbor seeing her walking down the road. And after that, he came back around and said the neighbor seen a kid walking down the road. Well, how could the neighbor possibly know it was Asia? Even at that time, wasn't it dark? I thought that was so strange. That stood out to me the most, that the father would say, the neighbor living next door said, they seen Asia walking down the road. And then he repeats himself and says, they seen a kid walking down the road. But kid and Asia is not the same thing. That sort of thing stands out to like a hyper awareness individual such as myself. Kid and Asia is not the same thing. Those are two separate things. Asia and kid is not the same thing, let me tell you. For a neighbor to say they seen something is to know that in fact was verified, as in the realm of the neighbor seeing Asia walking down the road, and yes, the neighbor once again seen Asia walking down the road, which is how the call should have been said, as in the caller made by the father himself to 911 dispatch. That's how that should have been presented, and not saying the neighbor seen Asia walking down the road. They seen a kid walking down the road. That's almost to say that the neighbor was in question of if that was really Asia walking down that road. See, to step on too many toes as in forbidden territory, even me looking outside in, is to continue to question. Because the sciences and all this completely spills, as well as the spills, that something about the nature of the family is off, even in them taking walks at 4 a.m. at night, in the morning I should say. Something about the whole family is off, even in the realm of them wanting to take walks at 4 a.m. That's abnormal family behavior, isn't it? It speaks a lot about the family is what I'm trying to say, and not the other way around. It really speaks too much. Let me tell you, it speaks nothing too much about Asia. It does and it doesn't. That sort of thing could point to abuse and molestation, but it doesn't really speak too much about Asia wanting to take a walk at 9 years old at 4 a.m. in torrential downpour of rain where it's 40 degrees hypothermia weather. It doesn't speak too much about her. It speaks more about the family. The household. That's what it speaks on. Even for her to go missing at 4 a.m. at that time, and the way that she did, even that speaks on the household. Yes, it does. It points back to the household, because see, a ransom could have been, a ransom relation to drugs could point to that. That would involve the parents, the household. But that was more than likely not the thing. More than likely not a ransom. Somebody failed to pay the drug man. More than likely that is not the thing. I don't think. I question that. All this is pointing back to the home life. What was wrong with it? What was wrong with the household from the beginning for somebody to want to leave? See, because I myself am not leaving nowhere out of this house unless I'm being beat on. Unless I'm being, my hair half ripped out along the way. And I question even that. Could Asia been being beat on and her hair being ripped off and all this other stuff pertaining to a hair bow being found? What was that all about? That in itself is a messy environment. Asia's degrees. Asia, you will be the first one to hear somebody such as me say this, because I'm a very bold and amplified individual. To put it upon myself, to take it there, right here, to say Asia degrees home life was more likely more messy than even those family members are portraying it to be. Don't believe everything you see as in individuals when they're being on national news presenting something in which is not. Because to even leave a child's hair bow somewhere is to possibly even plant even that, to make it seem like somebody else has something to do with it, as in taking it out of her hair and then walking away into the night air. Making it look like a pedophile did it, when they may have not done that sort of thing. It could be family. Because remember, they love her, right? And yet they're not giving her enough coverage. They're not. So more people, it's sad to say, when your family is not doing enough for you, as in the coverage enough for them to be able to go on a Steve Harvey and everybody else that's black, saying the mother family, for them to be able to go do that sort of thing, put themselves on black TV shows, and yet they won't do that. It's to show how much they care and cared for the young child. You got what I'm saying?
Is it bad luck?
Look at this. It says this father killed his son for life insurance. This man killed his child for life insurance.
Something else entirely.
Carl Carlson might be the most unlucky man in the world.
Just home from work.
He loses his wife in a horrific house fire.
He could save the children and couldn't save her. The flames were too high for him to get to her.
His son is crushed under a truck.
It didn't appear to be anything but an accident.
His his prized horses die in a barn blaze.
A
Pretty
barn.
much the barn was engulfed and it didn't take long.
Even his car blows up in flames.
He bought a brand new car, and that burned up in his driveway.
Carl Carlson, a guy
Carl
in need of a
Carlson. Look that up on YouTube.
break. Seneca Falls,
He killed-
a picturesque town in
Carl Carlson killed his son for life insurance. It's a whole lot of stuff that goes down in the world. That's off the hook. But going back to what I was saying, that was on YouTube. When as soon as I turned the phone on Crime Watch Daily, that was on YouTube and it popped up. So I pressed play. But where is the coverage on this young girl? Even in 2018, we got all type of black-owned TV shows or radio shows enough to broadcast. To go on Breakfast Club with Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God. Go on XM Radio with the young guy. I keep forgetting his name. People would know who I'm talking about. He wears the cap on XM Radio. I know his name. Starts with the S. I'm so sorry. Sway. Is it? Wait, hold on. Wait. I got it. Sway in the morning. Hold on. I was about to look it up, but I'm slow. Sway in the morning. XM. Is that it? Did I got it right? Sway in the morning. Asia Degree's parents, family, brother. Her brother is young enough, old enough now to do that sort of thing. Plus, he's in the hip era now anyway. The brother is old enough to make his way on the BET, as well as Sway in the morning. And on the Breakfast Club with Angela Yee and Charlamagne the God, and yet even he has not did that. It's the questionables. They're black. Like the mother said, nobody wants to seem to take it upon themselves to show more of a black face, and how that's why she got in Jet magazine in the first place about being black and missing, about not enough coverage on Asia Degree. But to not place yourself is to not go anywhere, as in not even leaving home, in the realm of your parents, you being the parents, not placing yourself there in the atmosphere for TV shows to want to get to you. Anybody would want to see that. There's in fact money to be made in the form of even movies. Yes, it is. Films, anything of that form. For a child to come missing like that, come on, everybody wants to hear about it. They want to know. People are in fact drawn to mystery. All of us are. We want to figure that sort of thing out. We want to know. The story should be told, even if it's never figured out. You know what I'm saying? So the mother said on a YouTube video, let the police do their job. I said, man, when I watched that video, yes, with the Shelby Star, said this mother does not at all care for her child. Oh my gosh. Or like she liked to say, being a Christian, like she liked to say, I should say, oh my God, this mother does not at all care for her child. Because why would you let somebody just do their job when you should be doing yours as well? Remember, you're a public figure now. Yes, the mother and the father and the child, O'Brien, are now public figures. You just don't let police do their job. You don't just do that. Because remember, you're supposed to play the role of the mother, of even Asia's mother, and finding her, locating her dead body if it's somewhere. That's supposed to be your role and position to the day you even die. The mother and the father and the brother as well. Extended family, but not so much so, because this is a home life family affair addition in a sense, right? So that's the mother and father and brother's role to play their position to even search out Asia's, even her body, to the day that you die. Till you die. That's just the truth. That's the honest to God truth. Everybody else is scared to speak these sort of things, and yet I'm not, because to be black is to see black, right? That's what they say. Be black is to see. So if you're seeing that sort of thing, which say if one of the family members watch this, they need to see that. You need to play your role and position more so as a parent, as in not just letting detectives and sheriff's office and FBI and America's Most Wanted, in which she ain't even really being on there as much. That would possibly played one time and that was it. You need to play your role as a parent even if your child is dead, by allowing everybody to see you and everything else. Because that in fact is what a mother stands for. That's what a father stands for, and that is in fact what a brother stands for. But to not be standing for any one of those sort of things is to say you in fact are something you're not. Not a mother, not a father, not a brother, not a whatever. No kinship even there from the beginning. And playing a role in a search and find. Missing people, parents, brothers, even extended family. Some of these children, because some of the parents don't, well, majority of parents do when they children, because they want to know where their child is, even if it's in a bag. They want to know what happened so that they can secure their environment much more than possibly they did before, right? If it was a kidnapping, abduction, right? But some of the in fact, extended family get involved. Yes, they do. And even putting themselves on TV, going on CNN just to talk about what could possibly been done. And even none of Asia's extended, whoever, family or whatever, is not being seen anywhere, because remember, they're peers. They are in fact peers. And so to keep something going and information to find and scope and try to bring Asia home, you do that sort of thing even if you're extended family. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And yet nobody's doing it. But why? Why on the reprise? Is that even a word? It should be, because I used to write songs, so I would know about that sort of thing. Which is probably why it slipped out of my mouth. Which is why, once again, the parents and all them don't want to say nothing on TV, because they're too afraid, possibly a lunatic. They're afraid that something could slip out of their mouth, because for abuse, you have to be a lunatic anyway. To place your hands on other people, because to want something good for someone is to want the best for them. And not for them to just leave your house, right? Say that I'm right, because I know that I'm right. It's not just me just trying to be arrogant and look foolish right here on camera. I know that I'm right. Everything I'm speaking on is right. And not only that, I ask all the right questions and not the wrong. And I'm a highly bold figure, despite me even having irrational fears. If I wasn't bold enough, I wouldn't even be sitting here discussing this. And yet I care not to know who is in fact offended, because that in itself, whatever, right? They say guilty individuals, hold on, wait. They say guilty individuals have a guilty pleasure in remaining secret, right? A guilty individual has a guilty pleasure in remaining secret. Secretive as in hiding, right? Hiding away, right? Even in the form of a suspect or even body bag or whatever, right? So the only people that I would in fact be offending is the guilty individuals themselves, and not people that had nothing to do with this. So once again, to play your part is to run the position. Even from afar, the viewers that's looking at me right now, that even